Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Restaurant Recipe Recreations. This channel is dedicated to teaching you how to create your favorite signature dishes from the most popular restaurants. This is an exciting episode for me because this is the first one that I have filmed since my official YouTube channel launch just 4 days ago. And it is also my first request video. So this video goes out to and is sponsored by Susie, and she knows who she is. I would like to give a huge heartfelt thanks to everybody that has supported me since my launch just 4 days ago. I've appreciated the comments, the feedback, the sharing, the support, so thank you to everybody. What I've recognized about building a YouTube channel is that it is infinitely more detailed, and I should say probably a little bit more complex than anybody would think. There's a huge learning curve to it. There is a lot to know. I know my kitchen and I know how to cook, but I didn't know too much about film editing or shot setup or all of that. And so I've really enjoyed the learning process and the learning curve. And I just feel like the best is yet to come as we move forward. So again, thank you so much, everybody. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to create Lawry's cream spinach. It's made popular by my strategically placed Lawry's seasoning salt. I think they also make marinades and steak sauces and things of that nature. But the actual restaurant name is Lawry's the Prime Rib, which seems like an odd name. This restaurant was founded in 1938 in Beverly Hills. And so it's been around for about 80 years. And this recipe that I'm going to show you today is the real deal. This recipe was published in a 1958 cookbook and was featured as Lawry's the Prime Rib Cream Spinach. Now the reason that I bring that up is because cooking in general and the art of cooking and certainly people's tastes have changed a lot in the last 60 years. So food back then was a little, I don't want to say pedestrian, but it was definitely blander in its profile. And you may find that this recipe has a tendency to be a little bit too bland for you. But in that case, just add more garlic, add more of the seasoning salt, add some cracked black pepper, which actually this recipe doesn't even call for. You can create it to your specific tastes. And it's as easy as that. I mean, that's basically cooking in a nutshell, right? So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to show you today how to do Lawry's the Prime Rib Cream Spinach. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do in a very large pot of salted boiling water is add 1 pound of fresh spinach. In this pot there was about 2 inches of water, about 3 tablespoons of salt, and we're going to steam this spinach. And we're going to let that go for about 30 to 45 seconds. I'm going to take this off the heat now and strain it. And then the next thing that you're going to do in order to stop the cooking process and to preserve that nice, bright, vibrant green color is to place the spinach into what's called an ice bath, which is just nothing more than ice and cold water. And as I said, that'll stop the cooking process. You don't want the spinach to get mushy. Okay, let's take it back out of the ice bath and strain it off. I'm going to leave this aside right now to strain out a little bit, and then we will come back to this later. So the next thing that we're going to do is get the onion, the bacon, and the garlic processed. The original recipe from 1958 actually calls for you to grind the bacon and the onion. Kitchen equipment back then, 60, 70 years ago, certainly isn't where it is today. So for these purposes, we're going to use a food processor, obviously. We're essentially going to puree these ingredients together to form kind of a smooth paste. So let's go ahead and do that now. I've got 4 strips of bacon. I have 2 cloves of garlic and 1 medium chunked yellow onion. So let's go ahead and pulse that up. So now I'm going to transfer this into a bowl because I will need to use this food processor again. Plus I wanted to show you the consistency that you're looking for. So you can see it's almost like the consistency of a paste. Okay, and coming back to work with the spinach, we need to make sure that all of the excess water has been taken out of the spinach. So it's been straining for a good bit, but that's not nearly enough to get the water out of the spinach. So we're going to have to squeeze it. The best and easiest way to do that is to put it in a clean kitchen towel, wrap it up, or cheesecloth if you happen to have cheesecloth, and literally squeeze the water out of it. You're not going to want to use your best Williams-Sonoma kitchen towels for this. Just make sure that it's clean. You want every bit of the excess to be squeezed out of the spinach. You see how this is just a ball of spinach. Look how small that is compared to the pound that we started with. So using fresh spinach as opposed to frozen spinach definitely does add extra steps for you. But the original recipe does call for fresh spinach, so that's how I'm going to show you how to create it. I personally would use fresh over frozen because I just think it has a nicer flavor. But if you do decide that you want to save some steps and use frozen spinach, you will still need to thaw it in the sink, obviously, to get all of that water out, and you'll still need to squeeze it in a towel as well, because frozen spinach still has a lot of excess water in it. You need to make sure that all of that water is out. Like I showed you before, you're looking at almost like a block of spinach. It's so dry that it's like, you know, it just stays like that. So that's what you're looking for. The only thing I have in here right now is the spinach, and we're gonna go ahead and pulse that up. Okay, now we're going back to what's referred to as hands and pan cooking, but don't worry, you'll be able to see my adorable face later on in the video. I'm a fool, y'all. I don't know, maybe you do think I'm adorable. So this is the onion, bacon, and garlic mixture. I did not add any oil to the pan because there's so much fat in the bacon that that's going to be sufficient. We want the fat to render out of the bacon completely, and we want the water to leave the onion. So this is eventually going to be quite a dry mixture. I have my heat on about medium-high, and we're just going to keep an eye on this, but we're going to cook this all the way down before we add anything else to it. Now you don't want to ignore this. Don't just set it and forget it. It doesn't have to be moving around in the pan constantly, but you'll want to come back to it every 30 seconds or so and give it a stir. Okay, you can see now that all of the bacon fat has been rendered out. The water from the onion has left, and now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, and we're going to make what's called a roux, R-O-U-X. If you need to or want to go gluten-free, you can use cornstarch, but you want to make sure that that's getting mixed around in the pan. I'm on a low heat right now, and it starts to act as a thickener is what a roux does. And now we're going to add 1 cup of whole milk and keep it constantly stirring so that the flour does not clump. So this has become a beautiful paste to which we're going to add the spinach. And next we're going to add 3/4 teaspoon of this Lawry's seasoning salt, which is what the restaurant became most famous for, and 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper. And that's it. Give it a nice stir. Make sure that the spinach and the bacon get beautifully incorporated. Get to know each other, become friendly. And this, my friends, is Lawry's the Prime Rib Classic Cream Spinach. See, I promised I'd be back. So now I'm going to serve this up in my festive little Williams-Sonoma boar's head casserole dish, ready to just get set on the table. Doesn't have to go in the oven. It can go in the oven if you want to keep it warm, but this serves about 4 for a side dish. So as I mentioned before, if you're planning on having this for a holiday dinner and a larger table, you're going to want to double your amounts. All right, let's give her a taste. Growing up in Chicago and eating at Lawry's, I can tell you that this is exact and delicious. Serve this for a holiday dinner or weekend entertaining with a prime rib or steak. Also check out my Fleming's Prime Steakhouse Signature Potato episode, and you have yourself a proper upscale steakhouse dinner right at your own table. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video and my others. This one is dedicated to Susie. As I said, you know who you are. And if you have a restaurant recipe request, that's hard to say, restaurant recipe request, that you would like to see me feature in one of my upcoming episodes, then please write that in the comments section. I'd love to see your comments, and I would love to showcase one of your requested episodes. But until that time, everybody, have an awesome day. Cheers.